That means your will, your deciding, your volition is saying, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care what my head says. I don't care what my heart says. This is what I'm going to do. And see, faith is a matter of the will. It's a matter of decision. I know many, many people who are waiting for their mind to inform them or their emotions to lead them into a kind of faith in God that we see other people have. It never will. You'll never get enough information in your mind or enough emotion in your heart to have the kind of faith that you were meant to have. Faith is a matter of the commitment of your soul. Then my emotions will follow that commitment. That my mind starts to understand more and more of what God really is and who God really is. It's a matter of the will. I can decide to believe, or I can decide in advance not to believe. I love the way Jesus said it. He said there, stop waiting and decide, Thomas. Stop doubting and believe. And it literally means stop being faithless and start becoming a believer. Start becoming faithful. And it's talking about stop moving in the direction of doubt and let your will decide to start moving in the direction of faith. Now, I found that I'm moving in one of two directions in my life. I'm either moving in the direction of doubt or I'm moving in the direction of faith. I'm moving in either of those directions. If I'm moving either in the direction of more and more faith in my life or moving in the direction of more and more doubt in my life, I don't want to do that. I choose to believe what God said. I will not put God on trial every day and evaluate what I see and don't see, what I hear and don't hear, what I understand and don't understand. I won't do that. Someone came to see me last week and they said, I don't understand why God didn't do what I asked him to do. I don't understand why you told me that God was going to do it. And I said, well, let me explain to you why I said that. I choose to believe God and what he said. And I believe God will do what he said he will do. And I believe it just as much now as it did the day that I told you. And I'm not going to doubt what God said that he would do. I choose with my will to believe what he said. And see, that's what life in this world is like, going or trying to walk up a down escalator. The minute you and I stop walking the walk of faith, we start to decline in our faith. Don't do that. We have to start walking it again. We have to choose to believe. As long as I'm walking in faith and walking in the Spirit, I can feel my faith growing. But if I stop, I can just sense doubt start to flood in my life. That doubt doesn't mean you're not a believer anymore. It doesn't mean that God doesn't love you anymore. It doesn't mean that you're not going to heaven when you die. But what it does mean, though, you can't serve God like you really want to and feel his love in this world like you really need to. You know, it's all by faith. Without faith, we can't please him. And so Jesus looks at Thomas standing there, and he says, Thomas, stop doubting and believe. And that meant it's a matter of the will. It's something he could decide. You know what Thomas did? He reminds us of a third important key ingredient if we want to overcome doubt in our life. And the third one is this. You've got to renew your confession of faith. Notice in verse 28, Thomas answered and said unto him, my Lord and my God. This is one of the most powerful confessions of faith in all of the Bible right here. Every one of those words means something powerful, something important. Unfortunately, when I use the word confess, we usually think of it in a negative way at first. But see, the greatest kind of confessions are positive confessions where we say the truth about someone or something. The greatest kind of confessions are positive confessions about God. And we say, this is who you are. One of the greatest confessions of faith, positive declarations of faith of who Jesus is, we get from Thomas. He was the doubter who truly believed. And he looks at Jesus standing there and he says, my Lord and my God. You know, I want to emphasize to you this morning the power of this confession by taking a look at each word, recognizing the significance of each of these powerful words in this confession of faith. My Lord and my God. The little word my is a very personal word. It's a word that emphasizes the fact that faith isn't somebody else's. It's mine. It's something that has to happen in my heart. Thomas said, my Lord. And the word Lord is the word that declares that Jesus, he's in charge of our lives. He's the Lord of our life. He's the head of our life. He's the one that we're going to look to for direction and for guidance. Thomas called him teacher previously, but now he calls him Lord. Now he's saying that you're the one who's going to decide everything in my life, Lord. I surrender, I submit to you. Then after my Lord, there's a little conjunction and. That's a simple, short little word. But in this confession, it reminds me that you can't contain the person of Jesus just in one word. Jesus is the Lord, but he's so much more than that, isn't he? He's the Lord, but he's also the Creator. He's the Lord, but he's also our Master. He's the Lord, but he's also our friend. He's so many more things. So Thomas, in the midst of this simple confession, recognizes the greatness of Jesus. And then he uses another word, my Lord and my. And he tells us how powerfully personal our confession of faith of Jesus needs to be. Yes, we get together and we sing the songs like we sang them today. Yes, we need to draw from one another's faith, but no one else can have faith for you. No one else can trust in Jesus for you. It has to be your decision. My Lord and my God. Probably the most powerful word in the confession, God. Thomas looked at Jesus, the man that he had been walking with for 3 years, and he sees the truth about who he is. He sees it maybe better than any of the rest of the disciples saw it. He said, you're not just the Messiah sent from God. In some miraculous way that maybe Thomas didn't totally understand, he said, you're God. You're the Creator. You're the one. You're the one who made me. You're the one who's in charge of everything. My Lord and my God, the personal leader of my life, whose being cannot be contained in words. Thomas, he shared this confession with Jesus. He was reminding us of who Jesus really is and how you and I can really find God. Thomas knew, I find God in Jesus. And see, that's where you find the truth. And we're all looking for God. Thomas was able to find Jesus, to find in Jesus God in human flesh. And he reminded us that nothing should take that truth away from us. So Thomas's experience, it teaches us some very, very important things about genuine faith. And if we have honest doubts, which we all do, to express those doubts openly to God, and then to make a personal connection with him so that he can answer those doubts. If you're a believer, but you still got some doubts about God's direction in your life, what does God want me to do? Or you've got some doubts about God's ability to supply your needs. God, I've got these needs, and I want to trust you. I want to have faith to believe you. But God, I'm just going to be honest with you. I've got doubts. If you've got doubts, don't hide them. You tell God just like Thomas did. And when you start to make it personal between you and him, he'll start to answer those doubts. And see, that's the marvel of what he does. When I do that, I learn the real power of being able to confess my faith to him. Well, Thomas teaches us some important things about confessing your faith in the middle of doubts. Well, number one, he shows us that confessions are vital. They're just not optional, but they're so important that we confess who Jesus is and that we believe in him and that we're trusting in him. If I'm telling God what he means in my life, then I have a faith that's